Okay, so you shouldn't have a cloud of paint in the air when you're spraying. If you got a cloud of paint in the air, that means you've got too much air going on and it's just clouding up. It's not going where you want it to go. So there's a couple things I look for. That's number one. If, you know, after 20-30 seconds there's still a cloud of paint in the air, you know you're too much air. If you're spraying with HVLP, you're not going to have this issue as much with an airless, unless you got your pressure turned way up. But the way I kind of try to gauge my air is I don't want any tails and I want good atomization, but there's this fine line between that and too much air where you start kind of blowing things all over the place. It is really kind of a fine line. You got to kind of learn where that is and adjust, micro adjust when you're close to that. So it depends a little bit how much air movement you've got too. It's going to make a difference. If you've got a good fan pulling out a lot of air, that's not as big of an issue. But if you do have some air movement, like when I spray this and my fan's running, when I'm hitting the cabinet door, I don't really have hardly anything bouncing off. There's like no cloud in the air. But as soon as I come out over the edge, I will see a cloud of paint. That's normal. So I try to stop my gun almost before I get to that edge. Kind of let that last a little bit, just kind of filter out over that edge. And because I'm not using an airless, I don't have to worry about this thing spitting. I do try to start just off the edge rather than right on the door, but you don't really want to be starting way out here. You want to be starting as close to the edge as possible, and kind of when you get over here, whatever edge you're working on, release your trigger and let that spray just kind of do its own thing. But you will still have a little bit coming out over the edge. Now here is what I kind of gauge it by. Like that little cloud that comes out over the edge should like dissipate in a couple seconds. And I've counted it here in about 3 seconds at the most, and I don't see anything visible anymore. If it's more than that, yeah, it's just too much air. That's where you kind of got to micromanage. Again, I'm not a professional here. I just try to tweak it and make it work for what I'm doing. Be interested in hearing your thoughts as well. I'm going to spray a couple doors in here, just show you a little bit what I'm talking about. So you see there's a little cloud of paint as my gun comes off the door, but that dissipates very quickly, just a couple seconds. So yeah, practice with your spray gun, starting and stopping right on the edges of the door, and stopping even a fraction of an inch before you get to the end of the door. That last little inch or half inch, there's going to be enough of paint coming out of your gun that it's going to finish that off. One way you can gauge it too is even look at your floor paper. If you're just puddling up paint down there, you know you're getting way too much paint. Of course, the floor is going to get paint. You're not going to avoid that, but it can be a helpful gauge as well. Watch the cloud in the air, watch the floor, and just practice your starting and stopping on your door, and you should have clean air while you're spraying. Of course, wear a respirator.